Twilight's Nightmare, Chapter 6, Interrupted Night Court. Canterlot Times, Special Edition, Princess Twilight dead. Yesterday, the princess valiantly sacrificed herself, securing the safety of every pony within the Manhattan area. She valiantly contained a blast that could have destroyed the whole city to mere a single building. No pony has so far claimed responsibility for the dark magic used. Investigators will have to wait for at least a moon to begin seeking evidence, claiming intense magic fluctuations as the reason for the delay. It is expected to be at least 2 moons before any of the residents are allowed to return to the city. See page 45 for the economic ramifications. The royal mage is citing health concerns due to long-term exposure to magic flux. See page 12 for advice from her health expert. Twilight died as she lived, giving her all for this great Equestria. Our thoughts and prayers go out to her friends and family. Long may she be remembered as a true hero of harmony. See page 5 for information of our campaign to get a monument built for the late Princess Twilight Sparkle at the site of her death. With this disturbing news, the elements of harmony, our greatest defense, lay broken. See page 9 for our defense expert's assessment of the military situation and how it will change relationships with both the Griffins and Dragons.
Eager little vultures,
Luna muttered darkly from her throne, throwing the paper to one of her aides.
we shall not allow this strike to be published. Our fellow princess's fate has yet to be determined.
The night guard who had delivered the paper to her spoke. My sovereign, I'm afraid it is too late. Luna narrowed her eyes.
Explain.
Sovereign, they rushed it, wanting to be the first to break the story. By now, it will already be distributed and on sale even at this hour.
So, the first news Twilight's friends will hear.
Yes, my sovereign, he said, his head lowering in submission.
Unacceptable. Gather her friends and family. We shall explain the truth of the situation ourselves.
The night guard bowed, took one step back, and then faded into the shadows.
Send in the next petitioner!
Luna declared in the royal Canterlot voice. The grand doors to the throne room swung open, admitting the new group of dejected-looking ponies. Refugees. She'd been dealing with them all night. Some demanded to be able to return home right now, others demanding bits, but mostly simply just wanted hope. By the look of this family, they were the latter. The little foal held a homemade Twilight Sparkle plushie, and seemed to be doing her best not to cry. As pleased as she was to have hundreds of ponies wanting to seek her counsel, she wished it could have been because of the pleasant situation. Luna offered a reassuring smile, even remembering not to use the royal Canterlot voice.
We offer greetings. What brings you before the Princess of the Night?
Luna was fuming, fighting to contain her power. She didn't want to do any damage to the throne room. She had literally just thrown a petty noble out of the throne room. He had the gall to demand the refugees were removed from Canterlot immediately because they were interfering with a party the selfish foal was hosting. A cheer came from the remaining petitioners, shocking her. Luna's rage broke in an instant, replaced with a deep feeling of contentment. She smiled warmly at the ponies in line and offered a bow of her head to them.
Next,
she said, not even using the royal Canterlot voice. A thunderous boom rattled the windows. Luna's whole body felt the magic pulse that went with it, and all the unicorns in the room flinched. Holding up her hoofs, stilling every pony, she closed her eyes, examining the mystic texture of the magic. Pain, terror, rage, desperation, determination, and love, all of that mixed with the unique deep burning fire that could only be caused by some pony burning out their wellspring. Luna was well aware of that sensation. It had been the cost of her element granted freedom from the nightmare. She personally knew all the ponies that could cast magic of this magnitude. She knew all except one of them had been safely at peace, dreaming in a realm.
Twilight.
Escaped Luna's lips as a fearful whisper before commandingly bellowing out.
Night Court is now suspended indefinitely. Night Guards, on me!
Without hesitation, in a flurry of membraned wings and bursts of teleportation, a dozen night guards exploded from the shadows. Each landed in well-practiced formation around their sovereign. With no regard for the panic her sudden departure would cause, Luna gathered her magic. The shadows seemed to deepen in the room as the stars in her mane glowed all the brighter. Barely a moment later, shadows erupted from her mane, gathering around her guards. A flash of magic, and the sound of displaced air. they were gone. Chapter 7: Discoveries at the Temple. The Dark Mage certainly had better days, but he was still alive, despite the pain. He would carry on, little surprises like this would not hold him for his destiny. Finally, after what felt like hours, he had cut his way out of his refuge. He sheltered himself beneath a dome of stone he had managed to drag from the floor in the last moments before the falling ceiling would have crushed him. He had no idea what that attack spell was. Too much just happened in just a few seconds. Whatever happened, it slammed him into the wall, shattering it. It was a horrid sound alone, and it would have broken his bones and rendered him out cold. If not for the sacrifice of his remaining servants, he would have been dead. He dragged himself out of the hole, staggering to his hooves.
It's been a long time since I have felt pain. Well played, Twilight.
He looked around. Most of the entrance chamber was nothing but shattered rubble and piles of debris. Gone were the mage lights, and now it was lit only by unearthly purple and red flickering fire cast light from outside. He could feel the flames with his horn, and he could hear its need to consume him, singing with magic. He had made Twilight very angry at him, if her magic left that type of residue. A flame-scorched crater was the only sign of where Twilight lay as she launched her attack. Any hint as to what spell she used was destroyed by whatever made it. This was not how things were meant to happen. He had her at his mercy, completely restrained, horn removed. She was helpless, and yet somehow she healed herself, and found the spare time to craft a full set of blood armor. Then, as calm as can be, she walked up and challenged him. And she won. Clearly, his information on alicorns had some gaps, large gaps. More of Celestia's information suppression, he supposed, leaving enough to let him think that he was fully prepared. To find out, alicorns can cast magic without a bucking horn. But were screams and pleas nothing more than superb acting skills? Did alicorns even truly feel pain? Was she just biding her time? If so, why? He would need to gather everything that survived and find a new place. He didn't want to be here when Twilight returned. A massive wave of magic stung his horn, and a loud thundering crack came from outside. It felt like teleportation, but that loud, it must have been both long-ranged and heavily laden. He checked for the chain around his neck. Yes, he was still wearing the temple's keystone. His horn rippled with magic and he faded from view, and he hoped the anti-detection properties of the temple were still functional. 6 of Luna's night guards rushed in and in moments secured the room. Despite their armor, they were as silent as ghosts. His heart skipped a beat. If he had not hidden as soon as he felt that teleport, they would have found him. Outside, he could hear the sound of many armored hooves drawing closer and what sounded like Princess Luna and Prince Shining Armor talking.
You see those flames? How they move, and how it still burns, even upon the bare rock?
Luna asked. Her forced calm tone made it clear that she was suppressing a lot of anger.
Yes, it seems a bit like dragonfire, but do you know what it is? Is Twilight safe?
Shining responded, crisp and solid sounding. Another group of 6 night guards silently rush in and past the first, hardly even disturbing the air, head further into the temple.
Yes, I know what it is.
Luna spoke solemnly as they both trotted into the chamber, surrounded by 6 crystal guards. Shining looked straight at her, waiting for the rest of the answer. Luna simply let out a detection pulse from her horn. The Dark Mage held his breath. The magic pulse washed over him without reacting, so he was safe. He settled in, breathing as silently as possible. He got the feeling that he would be stuck here for a long time. Luna looked over at the guards.
Leave us.
The guards hesitated, until Shining nodded his approval. The guards moved outside earshot, setting up the perimeter, but the night guards were already gone, though the Dark Mage had not noticed them leave.
Soulfire. The fatal result of setting some pony's wellspring on fire. With these streaks of crimson, it was caused by blood magic. With this much power, it will burn for many years. There are only 2 possibilities that can explain this, and given Twilight was most certainly no twisted warlock practicing blood magic, I fear our dearest of Twilight is dead.
Shining's hesitation spoke volumes.
Shining,
Luna's now forceful voice called out.
Twilight knew blood magic.
Luna stomped a hoof, stone shattering, the room shaking, and dust falling from the ceiling. Her eyes were terrifying to behold, becoming glowing draconic slits for a moment. The crystal guards snapped their heads to round to her.
Explain now,
She forcefully said.
She knew blood magic, but the memories were sealed away by Celestia.
Shining admitted fearfully, waving the guards off with a hoof. The reasons for Twilight's difference in behavior now apparent to the Dark Mage. Something he had done had broken the mental seal. Instead of weakening her, he had empowered her and left her with that much reason to hate him. Clearly, it was time for a new appearance, yet another chore to even get back to where he was only hours ago.
how?
Luna responded, and it was flat, cold, and dangerous. Shining lifted a hoof to take a step back before slowly putting it back down.
A spell book was hidden in her tower. The book was under a powerful illusion, so no pony knew that it was there. But when Twilight found it, she thought it was left there by Celestia as a test. So she learned the full contents of the book in a week.
Pray tell us which tome she found.
Red Hoof's blood magic, I think.
Luna lowered, her body tensing up, wings half flared, showing her agitation. The Dark Mage's eyes widened. Even he had not had a chance to study from that kind of most coveted of books. He could only get a hold of a single damaged scroll that had allegedly been copied from it.
I must ask, what sort of monstrous deeds did my sister cause to be forgotten for her student?
None.
None?
Luna questioned.
She invented a new spell and she demonstrated it to Celestia.
And what did this spell do?
Luna bit back impatiently.
It would act like 2 cups of coffee and a meal. One simple spell and then back to studying. It's the reason she keeps falling asleep studying. Part of her expects the spell's effects despite the seal.
Luna's body relaxed dramatically, and she laughed.
Of course, dear sweet Twilight. You learn some of the most dangerous war magic and craft yourself something entirely peaceful with it.
That level of control with blood magic by Tartarus, the bucking Princess of Friendship, is a master blood mage. If it were not for whatever caused her to collapse during their conversation, things would have gone very differently. Was her seal only partially broken and she had a relapse of some sort? Well, that's just too good to be true. This changes everything. She could be an ally, scapegoat, or at least a distraction. He would wait to see how she now acted, free from her mental seal, before settling on anything more about her. If he decided to let her keep her life, he would have to be careful. They would be sharing eternity, after all.
So, Princess, why do you fear Twilight is dead?
Shining grimly asked.
Answer me this first. Is there perhaps anything else bizarre, magical, or forbidden secrets about Twilight I should know?
Shining nodded. Luna slowly rubbed her hoof under her horn.
Please. Do go on.
I don't know much, but a year or so later, Celestia had to put another seal on her. A teacher at her school was unhappy that she hatched Spike's egg. That test was meant to check how somebody reacted to failing. So to fix that, he found a book of a spell that only an alicorn could cast.
She successfully cast the spell, yes?
Luna interrupted, hoof still against her head. Shining nodded.
Yes, and she was not the only one.
Who?
Shining shrugged.
You would have to ask your sister. I believe it was only one other one, though.
Is there anything else you remember about the incident?
When we next saw her, she seemed withdrawn, colder, like some of the light had just been taken out of her. Her work suffered, and she was still brilliant, but just not quite as much as she was before. There was a reason she needed friendship lessons.
Tia.
Luna sighed before carrying on.
If that book is the one I think it is, it will have no bearing here.
Shining waited, clearly impatient to learn about the possible fate of his sister. Luna continued sadly.
With the utter destruction outside, the only way I can fathom her being alive is if she overcharged another creature's wellspring with her magic, ignited it, and used them as a bomb. Do you think your sister is the type of pony to do that?
The Dark Mage knew Twilight was alive. If she planned to do something as self-destructive as detonating her wellspring, she would have done it in the temple to make sure that he was dead, not outside. Somehow, whatever level of destruction Luna was talking about, it must have been part of her escape, likely to prevent her being tracked. It was a little extreme, but who knew what this new Twilight would do? Shining shook his head, ears falling as he lowered his gaze. No. He took a deep breath, then raised his gaze with determination. She will have found another way. It wouldn't be the first time that she had done the impossible. Luna offered Shining a weak smile.
I truly do hope that you are right,
she said. An unarmed group of ponies carrying boxes of equipment entered, ending Luna and Shining's revealing conversation. They started checking the chamber in detail. Clearly they were some of the investigators. Luna lit her horn using a narrow beam to carve a stone chalice, then carefully by hoof used it to scoop up some of Twilight's soul fire. Its red and purple flame seemed to calm as she moved back toward Shining. Luna's eyes flicked down to the now much calmer flame she held.
Yet more proof. This is your sister's fire.
She presented the chalice to him.
To keep your hope alight, Prince of Shining Armor.
He needed to rethink his plans, taking into account everything he'd learned today. It seemed he would not be getting an alicorn sacrifice anytime soon. He would have to make do with multiple weaker ones. The displaced Manhattan ponies. They should do.
Princess!
One of the investigators called out. Both Luna and Shining looked up and headed towards the pony. The brown unicorn in a lab coat pointed a hoof at the Dark Mage's stone dome.
Some pony cut their way out of there less than an hour ago. We have a clear magical signature. It's from a male unicorn with natural affinities for dark, earth, and an unnatural blood aspect.
Luna growled.
If not for Sister, dearest, delaying us, we would have been here in time to prevent this filth's escape.
Quick to change the subject, Shining asked. Unnatural blood aspect? The Dark Mage bit his tongue. How could they get that much? He would need to see what new forensic spell they had developed recently. They now had a lot of information about him and would be able to identify him with a detailed affinity scan. He put his hoof on the keystone and hoped their new spells could not breach its concealment. The investigator nodded.
Yes, some spells, items, or training methods can cause some pony to develop unnatural aspects. They are the same as natural ones, other than how they are acquired, and sometimes being a bit, well, unstable. Our current theory is that Twilight was captured, broke free somehow, and then escaped in a battle of spells here.
She gestured around the chamber.
Then, as she was leaving, her wellspring detonated.
Luna solemnly added, and she nodded.
We have at least 5 ponies dead under the rocks here and here. Need to dig them out to be sure.
Luna looked to Shining.
Shining, you and your guards help secure the ruin. I will search from the sky. Let us see if we can catch ourselves a runaway. Use extreme caution, and if he is the one that caused Twilight's wellspring to detonate, he could do it to others. Disable him as soon as you see him, in any way you feel necessary.
Shining saluted out of habit before heading off, his emotions now hidden by duty. Luna looked around as if she suspected some pony might be watching her, then walked towards the exit.
You had better hope Shining finds you first.
Luna growled softly as her walk turns to a more of a prowl, her mane rippling violently. The Dark Mage smiled to himself. He would wait for his chance, and then head to the secret tunnel. He still had his samples from Twilight and how he knew so much more. The day was not so bad after all, even if they now had his magical scent. Before ending this video off, I want to give a special thank you to my very kind donators. Yoshi Super Saiyan 2, Peter Coulthard, Nicholas Springthorpe, Dospo, David D. Sanchez, Dwight Cornel, Gagi, Starlight Glimmer, Trey, Pokekiller Zach, Soul Dragon, Dak Britton, and Joe Piercy. Thank you all very much for watching this video, and I will see you all in the next one.